Hi, it's Ned at Wild Heart Ranch. It's Saturday morning. It's early, and I'm getting ready to feed our first squirrels of first orphan squirrels of 2020. Squirrels kick off our orphan season. We nearly always have squirrels before Valentine's Day, so these guys are right on track this year. Just grateful not to have baby squirrels in December and January, which we've done many times. I just wanted to do a quick demo for any new rehabbers that have signed their life away and obtained their wildlife rehab permit, and they're getting ready for babies. Some parts of the country, babies don't stop, but in Oklahoma, we're lucky. We have an orphan season, so 6 months out of the year, we're killing ourselves. The other 6 months out of the year, we're working hard. So the first thing I want to talk about, wildlife rehab is no easy job. It is, you lose your freedom, you lose your free time, you lose sleep, and you're sacrificing a lot. So if you're going to work this hard and give this much, you really want to buy the best formulas money can buy. It's not going to do you any good to skimp on formulas. And there are two really good formulas that we recommend. One is Fox Valley formulas. Those are perfect for somebody that's doing either single species or not a huge animal load, because there are different formulas for different species and different formulas for different ages. And great formulas, custom made, and it's kind of simple to use. Just follow, the instructions for what species. But if you're like we are, and you're doing all species, and you're doing, thousands of babies every spring, it's just easier. The fewer formulas you have, the less complicated and the less waste. And you can always customize your formulas depending on your species and your age. But I'm not going to get into that, but I just want to show you, we use for the squirrels Zoologic 3340. It's expensive, but it's good stuff. We have a phenomenal success rate with saving our orphans, and our pinkies even do good on this. And then we can, increase protein values, fat values if needed. You can add water if you've got a dehydrated baby, which I'm not going to get into that either. I could go on all that. I woke him up. He's mad. But one thing you want to make sure of, when you mix your formula, you mix it with hot water. Depending on your tap water, if you've got a lot of chlorine in your tap water, you probably either want to use filtered or bottled water, something to get the chlorine out, or to avoid the chlorine. Your chlorine can cause digestive issues. So, that's just, we have really awesome tap water here in Foyle, thank goodness. But we did have an issue last year with contaminated water, so we do have a filtration system for the babies if there are any problems. Our issues came from flooding, so the drinking water got contaminated and we had some problems, and when we found out what was going on, we got a filtration system, and that's our emergency backup. These guys, their eyes are closed, they're fuzzy, they're not quite pinky, but we get them in a third the size of these squirrels. And these are going to be little gray squirrels, because their bellies seem to be white. I'm going to say gray squirrels. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell before they get fur in. But the way you're going to know they're squirrels, black toenails. Your rats and mice do not have black toenails. These guys do. The equipment I'm using an O-ring syringe. I've been using O-ring syringes my entire rehab career. They're just much smoother and easier to plunge, safer to use. And then, of course, the miracle nipples. These were a godsend. A rehabber invented them, came up with them. I got to help with the prototype on the raccoon nipple, which is a huge difference from this one. But this is the long one. There's a mini, which is half the size that we use for rabbits. So now I can do two things here. I can feed first, or I can potty first. New squirrels, which these guys just came in yesterday. New squirrels are still trying to figure out what you're doing. You've picked them up, you've woke them up, you've pulled them out of their warm nest. And if your hands are cold, always keep a little fleece handy to wrap them in. Putting them in a cold hand will reduce their body temperature. If your hands are warm, mine are warm this morning, remarkably. Well, I've been playing with puppies, so yeah, they're already warmed up. But if your hands are cold, have a little piece of fleece. Fleece is very insulating. And okay, you try to feed them. If they don't eat, you need to get them going. and that's when you stimulate. But anyway, what I was saying was you can do one of two things. You can either stimulate them first, or you can feed them first. If your squirrels have been with you for a while, or any babies have been with you for a while, they're going to know that the handling means feeding, and they're going to be ready to eat when you touch them. And with those guys, go ahead and stimulate them first, because it evacuates the bladder, the bowel, and makes more room for food. And also, after they eat, they can go right to sleep. But sometimes with raccoons, we potty first, because they tend to just start going while you're feeding them, and that's a big mess. And when you go to stimulate, use something soft. Sometimes your finger dipped in formula, warm formula, is a way to get stubborn babies going. But a little piece of fleece, gently, oh my gosh, gently. That is some very thin skin down there, and you just barely have to touch it. It's really not even rubbing, you're just barely touching. But anyway, I'm doing about half the nipple in his mouth. I'm holding my syringe in a fist for a reason. The fist method, the top of the syringe is right here. It's between my fingers. I've got control over the syringe in a fist. If I was to plunge like this, I do not have control. If this O-ring was to slip and load the baby's lungs, that would be my fault. So you want to go real easy and slow, and you are a terrible example. They've been eating really, really well. And now we're just like, nah, no, I don't do TV. Not my thing. Alright. Well, I'm going to tell you a few more things, and then we'll get him feeding. One thing we use are fleece pouches. These are great. They're sewn with the serger, and we use them inside out, so the babies inside are not exposed to the threads, and that makes it just perfect. But we have different size pouches depending on animals. Here's a larger pouch. I would use this for a group of older squirrels or a larger baby, but we use tons of these pouches, and they're fantastic. And the ladies that make them for us are amazing, because these things don't die. Worst case scenario, we might have to trim a thread, but they've never come apart in the washer. They're just perfect. And it's simple to, all the little fleece blankets that you can buy for $1 a piece, that you can cut those up and make pouches out of them. And then on the bottom, I'll show you. What we're in is a little tiny Rubbermaid tub, which I can't find these anymore. We did find some that will work, but I don't like them as well. But notice the tub is solid in color. It is sitting on a rag on top of a heat pad set on low. The reason it's on a rag is just to keep it from getting too hot. And then under the tub is a scrap of fleece, so that if any babies crawl out of the pouch, they're not sitting directly on the tub, on the heat. But you don't want to put a lot of stuff in the tub. Sometimes we come in and people have put lots of bedding to make it softer. Well, those animals tend to climb up on top of bedding, and that removes them from the heat source, and you'll open your tubs up and find cold babies, and it's your fault, because you gave them too much height. So they're in the pouches. The pouches are sitting on fleece in the tub's sitting on I've got a wash rag here, and that usually is adequate, and then sitting on a heat pad on low. Our heat pads, of course, are not auto shut off. Walgreens sells them. I am just terrified that one day they're going to start making all auto shut off heat pads, and I'm going to have to scramble, so I try to keep pretty stocked up. The Walgreens brand, they're not expensive. They last a long time. I usually, heat pad, after about 3 years, you start having issues with proper heat. If you notice it's getting too hot, and it's really easy to tell, throw that thing away. Get rid of it. If they're not heating, throw it away. After about 3 years, we date our heat pads on the backs of our controllers, what year they come in, and when they're about 3 years old, that's when we need to start monitoring them for failure. Okay, I got enough in him to satisfy me, and I pulled my pouch off the heat. What I'm doing is I've got the pouch that they're in is in here, and then I take the clean pouch that I'm moving them to, and I set it in here on the heat. And then when the baby's done eating, we go in the clean pouch, and that's how we tell who's been fed. It's one of the most common questions. It's hard to focus when I got these two puppies. They are just having a ball. We put a bell on Grace, so that Duncan could find her. You can hear the bell going off. She's running around. He's almost using the bell. He's noticing it. Right now he's trying to climb my leg. Duncan, oh no, that's Grace. Duncan's off doing his own thing. They're really good. Sometimes, and you know, if you've got a baby that doesn't want to eat and it's spitting it out, check your temperature. Because 9 times out of 10, that's your problem. Do not bark. You stop barking. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here. Grace hates the collar. She has been just sitting down scratching it nonstop. She's like, I don't know who put this thing on me, but I'm over it. We're going to try it, but he really has no trouble finding her, because if he's lost, she goes and gets him. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have 2 blind little dash hounds, and they're just too cute for words. And when you start dribbling formula and stuff, you got to get it off their skin. These babies don't have a mama to clean them after they eat. It's your job to keep them clean. And the formula can cause problems on the skin, so you got to keep them clean. And to feed a squirrel upright usually works. You know, belly down is rough on the little ones. When they're bigger, belly down all day long, but when they're tiny, you almost have to get the help of gravity, so you can kind of hold them a little bit nose up. Now, you got a problem when the formula's coming out of their nose. You're feeding too fast, or they don't have the suck, swallow, breathe routine down. They're doing suck, breathe, swallow. So a sinus aspiration does not mean a lung aspiration. There is a big difference. If it's in their sinuses, they will blow it out. Sometimes you'll have to suction them, but it's very unpleasant if you do. As they blow it out, just wipe their nose so they don't just suck it right back in. If it's a lung aspiration, your baby will start gasping with an open mouth. It's very obvious. We use centrifugal force to purge the lungs. I'm not going to teach that over a video because it is very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. That is something we teach in my rehab classes. Some people purge the lungs on a sinus aspiration, or they use centrifugal force to purge the lungs on a sinus aspiration. It's too risky. You don't need to do it. If it's in their sinuses, they'll fill their lungs, close their mouth, and blow, just like the rest of us. And they usually get it done, but you have to watch them, because formula can set up in the sinus and grow bacteria too. So you got to keep them healthy, keep them dry, keep them clean, keep them fed, and make sure that immune system is cranked. Now this is day 2. There we go. We got one that knows what it's all about. There we go. That's what you want to see. Did you see that little head come forward? That is, I accept you as my mother. Now, I get a little criticism sometimes for doing these videos publicly, because people say, oh, everybody's going to be raising squirrels. You've got to have a permit. You've got to make sure you're legal. But I would rather teach the proper way to do it than, I get a lot of Google raised babies every year. They look on Google, it gives them some stupid thing to feed the animal comes in with all kinds of problems, and we have to scramble and hover to save the life. I would much rather teach the proper way, make the information available, and hope that anybody that's doing it will do it legally. And, I can't prevent anybody from doing the wrong thing for the right reasons, but a lot of people do. And we get the animals after they've tried and failed, and it's a lot of extra work. Now, for those of you that are still watching, thank you for watching the ads. The ads make us money. and not a lot, but a lot of people watch them. It adds up. Okay, these guys are taking about a cc a piece. We're kind of a holdout to potty. If your fingers are warm, you can do a bare finger. I don't have a very big subject here, so you got to kind of use your imagination. I'm just barely touching. That's all he needs. He's real still. If they get real still and stop struggling, that means you're on the right track. Oh, he pottied. And I mean, there wasn't even a drip. They're very tiny. Their bladders are tiny, so you're not going to get a lot. As far as stimulating the rectum to get them to poop, you know, that's a real sensitive area. Most animals, when you stimulate them for urine, they will have a bowel movement. And these guys, they just came in. They've started a new diet. I don't want to irritate them because those little parts can get inflamed and irritated. There we go. See, the second time around, he didn't eat real good the first time. Now we're on it. I'm even hearing some sucking noises. He's going for it. Now, when you get a baby that's locked on and your syringe runs out, it's very important. You don't just pull that syringe out of their mouth. Because if you can imagine, they've got a mouthful of formula, they are sucking, and you pop that syringe out of their mouth real quick, what's going to happen? They're going to get a gulp of air, and everything that's in their mouth is going in their lungs. So when you take, these guys aren't really latching on, so it's hard for me to demonstrate. But when you take the syringe out of their mouth, you twist it, and you break the suction, and that's how you remove the syringe safely. You know, little things, rehabbers lose babies to little things all the time. I don't know everything, but I have raised tens of thousands of babies, and I have learned all these little stupid, seemingly stupid tricks that prevent tragedy. And I love sharing them because I care as much about the babies in other people's hands as I do about my own. These are my priority, but by golly, if I can help someone grow healthy babies and get them released nice and wild, I'm all about it. Now this is the other one that didn't drink a whole lot. Let's see if he's thought about it. And sometimes, you know, if you've got one that just won't eat, move on, come back to him. Because sometimes they think about it. He did eat some. I want to see a full meal down him, but yeah, there you go. Now he's on. Sometimes they got to think about it. They're like, okay, you know, they held me, they shoved the thing in my mouth. I didn't know what it was. I was scared. And then you put them up and they're like, oh, okay, nobody hurt me. So when you come at them the second time, and this is for new babies, come at them the second time, they're usually ready. They're like, wait, I changed my mind. I think I'll eat now. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. My birds are dropping bombs in the background. And puppies are jumping on me. Oh my gosh, puppies. We rarely have puppies in our clinic. It's so ironic because we have all these really cool, unique animals that you don't see very often. And we get puppies in the clinic and my crew all acts like, you know, aliens have landed or something. Try a bare finger with him. See how he's real still? What is it? Grace is just jumping on my leg. They have no legs. They're so cute. All right. Well, not the best breakfast, but their bellies are full. Oh yeah, another important thing, milk lines. Of course, I can tell how much they ate by how much I put through them in the syringe. And, well, you can't really see on this guy, but babies are pretty transparent at this age. If his belly was full, which it's not, I'm going to have to feed him again in an hour just to get a second feeding in early. But their bellies are pretty transparent, and you can usually look at the belly to see where the abdomen is full of milk, and what you'll usually see is a white line across the abdomen. And when you see that, their stomach is full. Don't overfeed them. Sometimes if you overfeed, especially with squirrels, you'll start seeing white poop. That's when you have to reduce your volume and start giving them Benebac to help with digestion, because they're moving formula through themselves so fast they're not really digesting it. And yeah, you can overdo it. You can kill them with kindness all day long. It's easy to do. Okay, and then we've got a chart, a feeding chart. Tells how many of what kind of formula we're feeding, what kind of syringe we use, what kind of nipple if needed, but around here everybody knows. Whether or not they're hand fed, how often. So this says hand feed, yes or no, every 3 hours. Issues, stimulate. Don't forget to make them potty. Until their eyes open, they need help going. It's a natural mechanism that keeps the nest clean. Wild babies don't have a scent, and that helps protect them from predators finding them. So in order for them to eliminate, mom has to do that. She does it with her tongue. You know, everybody is as dedicated as they want to be around here. We use little pieces of fleece. Sometimes we tell new volunteers that, you know, if you really, no, I don't. But anyway, just mark down, make sure you log the date, the time. Around here we got to put who fed and then how much they ate average. So we have 3. I'm not going to put collars on or put colored dots on their heads. I can tell by looking at a baby if it's thriving or not. So we usually put our average. And if we've got one that's not eating, we will note one didn't eat so that we can watch that one. And it's pretty easy to tell who's not eating. But anyway, sorry this got long. Hope you learned something. And I've got a million other things to do, and I'm going to go get on that. Oh, and while you're feeding, always good to have your formula sitting either on your heat pad, or we also use those candle warmers, but we do a double boiler on the candle warmers. We'll have a bowl of warm water and then set our formula bowl in that, and that keeps your formula warm while you feed, because your formula will cool off and your babies will stop eating. Also, never feed a cold baby. You must warm them up first. If they have no body heat, they can't do anything with the formula. They will not do well. So make sure you warm your babies up first before you feed them, and don't feed cold formula to a warm baby, especially a neonate. It will reduce their body temperature, and again, digestion slows down and they can have problems, and some of them can be fatal when they're that small. So if you get all the key elements on track, you too can have healthy, thriving babies that run away into the woods and never look back, which is what we're after. So have a great day, and thanks for watching.